You are listening to a Bucking Spurs podcast. On this episode, later on in the episode, we're talking USA basketball. First, there's something that's much more important that I've been wanting to talk about. That's about our boy Patty Mills Thrills, the towel magician. We need to appreciate this man, the humanitarian. A humanitarian is someone who's concerned for the welfare of the people. When there's a suffering happening, a humanitarian steps in to provide support and aid, and he's doing that for Australia. He's providing clean water for his people, and I want to get into how that is a perfect example of Spurs culture. We're going to get into all this and more, but first there's a beat. Let's hit it.
It's not supposed to be easy. Every round gets tougher. Penetrate hard. Good passes. Shoot with confidence. I want some nasty.
The real win here this summer, and I believe that something that Coach Popovich has tried, I think subconsciously, kind of subtextly through the media over his tenure with the Spurs and this organization, is to turn the mindset of our players and the culture of San Antonio into one that's bigger than basketball. Coach Popovich understands that basketball is just a game that we play. We get paid to do it. It's a job. What's more important to Coach Popovich is that his players become good people of character, and that they help the people around them and their communities, and to be involved and to be aware, to be understanding of different cultures, ethnicities, ways of living, politics. Coach Popovich believes that, and trickles down to the players. And in Tim Duncan's post-retirement interview that Coach Pop gives, he talks a lot about, his favorite person to go out to dinner with was Tim Duncan, because Tim Duncan can just talk about all these things that are happening outside of basketball, that are happening in the world, and concerns that people go through, and the struggles that are happening all over the world. And that's what the focus is in San Antonio, in that locker room. It's to grow as individuals, to grow as people, and to be using their clout, their influence, their money, their power to help the people around them and help make this world a better place. And Coach Popovich, being an Army guy, really amplifies that, and it's there's no secret why it's a perfect fit here in San Antonio. I mean, San Antonio's a military city, USA. Coach Popovich was in the military. He has a very militaristic style of coaching, but he also has a heart that transcends basketball, transcends human nature, transcends politics, transcends food and wine, right? I mean, he loves, that's what I don't understand. A lot of the people that are that are interviewing him should just realize that he doesn't want to talk basketball with us. He doesn't want to. He wants to talk about food, wine, politics, certain things that are happening around the world that a lot of people aren't talking about. That if you just go up to Coach Pop with some of those questions, I feel like you're going to start getting deeper intellectual responses about him, about his point of views. And yeah, sure, you're there to cover the Spurs basketball organization, right? We're here, we want to talk basketball, but we just got to understand that Coach Popovich isn't going to talk to us really, but he doesn't want to. I mean, he might, because he has to tolerate us And well, not I say us like as the media, but he has to tolerate the media, and he's always dogging about their questions and just like, come on, man, like seriously, these questions are just ridiculous, you know. And he's like, or he just won't tell you, just flat out saying, I'm not going to talk about that. And when it comes to basketball, but if you were to ask him about food, wine, what's happening between, you know, what's the conflict right now in this country or that country, or what's the struggle in this country or that country, then he'll be an open book, and he gets his eyes go up, and he's willing to talk about that stuff. And okay, I know we're talking a lot about Pop, but anyways, that's the type of person he is, and that's the type of people that he tries to play basketball for us. We don't draft talent in San Antonio. We draft character. And the reason why Tim Duncan was one of the greatest power forwards of all time, greatest players of all time, we had one of the biggest three, the best, in my eyes, the best big three of all time in Tony, Manu, and Timmy, was because we drafted character first. You know, we don't worry about talent. Talent can be taught, skills can be learned, repetition will take place, development will happen, but character is built within you. And that's something that San Antonio puts at the top of the priority list. That's why when you see who we drafted this year, Luka Samanic, they drafted him at 19 for a reason, because he's a character guy. Keldon Johnson, a character guy. And it just so happens that these two guys, I mean, I'm not excluding Quindary because he is too, but our 2 first-round picks, there's a reason why on the rookie survey list that I don't really want to talk about. The rookies did a survey, and it's you know, it's a nice survey. They get to for me, all that rookie survey does is tell us where the mindset is of players coming into the league nowadays. You know, who do they like the most? You know, what organizations do the young players think are good? Cam Reddish in Atlanta voted most likely to have the best career, and it's because I think he's in a really good situation. But Luka and Keldon came out high in a lot of those surveys because, like, as most likely to have good careers or sleepers, or they're the steals. And that's because, guys, with those 2 picks, we drafted character and talent. Luka has a crazy skill set, so we got to understand that development's going to happen. His character is there. Keldon Johnson, crazy talent, crazy athleticism. Character is there. These guys care about more than basketball. I think these guys care about each other as people, and if you watch them develop over the summer or hang out over the summer through the summer league and through camp and being drafted, it seems like right away those 3 guys developed a relationship that's going to be growing and growing and growing over the years. Those 3 guys are going to have a bond, and they're going to go through the ups and downs together. They're going to win games together. They're going to lose games together. They're going to be there for each other, and because they're good quality character guys. That's why I'm so high on this young group that we just drafted. You know, Lonnie Walker, DeJounte, Derek White, Bryn Forbes are all the same guys that were underrated come draft day, but we knew character-wise that they're on the top of our boards, you know. So anyways, you know, that's a little bit about San Antonio's mindset and Coach Pop, and that all starts with Coach Pop. And the reason why I started this long soliloquy is because I wanted to talk about Patty Mills. Okay, so let's get into the Aussie. The reason why I brought this up is because Patty Mills has done something so magnificent, so humanitarian for his country and for the people of Australia and the indigenous people that he's in. Okay, Patty Mills has partnered with the Australian Indigenous Basketball and Zero Mass, which is a company that creates hydro panels. They source hydro panels, and that technology is able to bring clean drinking water to a lot of communities in Australia that cannot afford to get clean drinking water. And he launched this project this year in 2019, and it will be kind of the focal point of this FIBA scrimmage basketball that's happening there in Australia. There's going to be a couple games. USA is going to go play in 2-3 games over there in Australia. There's going to be a couple other teams there. But doing something like this, using his money, his power for good, that is quality character. You don't see a lot of NBA athletes doing things like this. Not that they're not out there, but you just don't hear about it all the time. You don't see about it all the time. But Patty Mills cares. He wants to make a difference. He traded in his honeymoon for an opportunity to go and visit low poverty people. I'm not sure where it was, but if you look on his Instagram, he asked the wife to. They don't want a destination honeymoon. He doesn't need a long vacation. He doesn't need to go to Hawaii or to Cancun or wherever and spend 2 weeks over there or whatever on a honeymoon. He chose to visit. I think it might even be the people in this area that are just low poverty. They don't have people that are like sick. They don't have they're poor places. They don't even have clean water, things like that. So that's the character of this guy, and it sets the bar high for our standard of people that we have in our organization. Patty Mills doing something like this, I feel, is more important to Coach Popovich than any championship banner that's hanging in those rafters. Coach Popovich understands that seasons come and go. Championships, you win them, you lose them. But influencing a positive impact on our world, on Earth, on our countries, on other countries. We're drafting players that represent their countries. Tony Parker is a mogul in France. Manu Ginobili is a mogul in Argentina. Tim Duncan in the Virgin Islands. Thiago Splitter, one of the best basketball players, to come out of Brazil. Right? Patty Mills, one of the best players to probably ever come out of Australia. Luka is going to be one of the best players to come out of Croatia. He has a long way to go because Croatia has a lot of history with basketball. But, the list goes on and on. I'm sure there's a lot of players I'm forgetting. Boris Dio, Rasha Nesterovic, right? All these players that have come and gone. But we are not just about basketball in San Antonio. We're about impacting the world and trying to make it a better place. And I think that's probably a motto that Coach Popovich cares about the most. And Patty Mills has done that, and he's taken steps to help Australia, to help the indigenous people have clean water. And as Spurs Nation, we should rally behind Patty Mills. We should support him. We should show him our love and appreciation for what he's doing. And if you ask, that's why people, when they argue about his contract, this contract doesn't matter. You need people like Patty Mills around. Imagine if you didn't have Patty Mills in the locker room and you had someone like, I don't mean to cause any offense, but let's say you had someone just like Rajon Rondo in your locker room as your backup point guard, or you had Nick Collison, or you had these people or whatever that are great players, but maybe not high quality character guys. Nothing against Rondo and Collison. There's only two guys that can come to mind right now, but you know what I mean? Like we have character influencers in our locker room that are going to set the tone. And guys, we're in this transition stage right now where we have all this young talent. I named them off earlier: Derek White, Murray, Bryn Forbes, Lonnie Walker, our young draft picks right now, right? So we Drew Ebanks, all these guys, Coffee Gang, that need to be around people like Patty Mills. I'll pay Patty Mills however much money he wants to stay here and be a part of our culture. Because 3 years down the road, when Patty's gone, 4 years down the road, when all these older guys are gone, they're going to be setting the tone for the next group that comes in. You guys don't understand how much that means to culture. Culture isn't built by free agency and just bringing in talent. That doesn't define culture. Talent does not define culture. And that's why I actually think that Luka Doncic and the Trae Young trade makes a lot of sense to me, because if you want to put those two players and where they're supposed to be culture wise, Trae Young's supposed to be in Atlanta. Luka is supposed to be in Dallas. It just makes more sense for the culture. Atlanta. Imagine if you had Luka playing in Atlanta and Trae Young playing in Dallas. The fit just isn't quite right. Trae Young is a young, ethnic, talented, full talent, full of potential. I think he can represent the city of Atlanta tremendously. Dallas, Dirk, European success, things like that. That fits Dallas's mold, right? So that's why that trade makes 100%. Now, who's going to win or lose that trade? If you want to compare wins and losses and championships at the end of the day, you can do that. But I think making that decision on draft night to make that trade makes a lot of sense to me, because culture is more important than talent. So shout out to Patty Mills for doing what he's doing right now. I can't wait to see it unfold when we play Australia. I believe next week. I think August 31st or September 1st, 2nd is those the dates of those games. I'll get back to y'all on that. But shout out to Patty Mills, man, for just doing Spurs things, helping people, showing the world that we have class, and helping his community, helping his country. That's stuff that you just gotta love, Spurs Nation. You gotta rally behind that. That right there is Go Spurs Go. We're gonna take this quick break to remind you guys about the teacher appreciation giveaway all month of August. 3 things you got to do. 1, send in a picture of Spurs being repped in your classroom. A sticker, a banner, a flag, a slideshow, whatever it is you did to represent Spurs Nation in your classroom, to influence these young kids, to teach them the right way. A beautiful game. Show them the clip of a beautiful game. Love that. 2, send a picture, a screenshot of your phone, listening to the podcast, rating the podcast 5 stars. 3, tag 2 people in the post, and that's it. And then you're entered to win assortment of prizes. We got top 4 places in this contest are going to get prizes. Check it out on my Instagram or on my Twitter page. I believe it's pinned at Bucking Spurs Pod on Twitter. It's pinned at the top of my profile. Retweet it. Send it out to all the teachers of Spurs Nation. All right. Go Spurs go. I want to give a shout out to everyone out there in Spurs Nation who's hanging in and watching Team USA do their thing. Let me give a shout out to Team USA for balling out against Spain. Spain is supposed to be one of the tougher teams in the whole tournament. I believe they're ranked 2nd, right behind us. So, us showing up against them, we didn't play all that well. But then neither did they, and they really figured us out in the second half, and they really cut this game close and started closing down the gap. I think we're up 13 or 14 points, and then or 18 I think at one point, and then just start chipping away. Every time they cut it down to about 8 or 9, we would go ahead and spread that thing back out into double digits. But you can tell that the way they were playing, they were just like, man, we wish we had another quarter. We wish we had one more quarter to keep playing, and we'd have you guys. And you know what? They're playing like that too. So they had me worried for a little while. Spain looks tough. We look good too, and it was a weird lineup, situation thing going on. We're experimenting. Pop is experimenting. We're seeing, we had Mason Plumlee play a lot. Derek White didn't even play into the second half. De'Aaron Fox played a lot in the first half. But then the next day he withdraws. Right after the game, Pop announces that we're taking all 14 guys out to Australia to compete in those pre-Olympic scrimmages over there. I believe it's 2 or 3 games over there in Australia, and we're taking everybody. So it looks like the evaluations were going to continue, and we're going to keep mixing up the lineups and see who we really wanted to take. And PJ Tucker obviously stepped down a few days before, and really I felt like, okay, well, PJ Tucker steps down, that means that there's really only a few more guys that, Derek White, because we're all pulling for Derek White. If you're listening to this podcast, keep tabs on Derek White. I'm telling you right now, summer FIBA basketball, it's going to start up in September. It's going to go on for a few weeks. All right, so keep tabs on it. Check the schedules. I'll be constantly, updating you on how Derek's doing and how Team USA is doing along the way. But we're all pulling for Derek to make the team because we all want to see a Spur player represented in FIBA basketball. I think that's something we don't get, all the time. Rarely ever, probably since Tim Duncan have we had someone represent the USA. I mean, of course, we see Manu in Argentina. We'd seen Tony Parker in France. We would see Thiago Splitter in Brazil. Boris Diaw also. Patty's always doing his thing with the Aussies down there in Australia. So it's a lot of fun to see these guys play in FIBA because they get more expanded roles in FIBA. Like a few years ago, Patty Mills was like the leading scorer right behind Carmelo Anthony, or Carmelo was right behind him. Though not a few years ago. I think that was kind of like, I don't know, 5 years ago? No, 6-7 years ago. It was a while back. But Patty Mills, lit it up. So we saw the type of scorer that he actually is. Because in San Antonio, everyone sacrifices. We're not a team that tries to maximize all of your skills. Like we want to get those 2 or 3 skills that you're best at and then maximize that within our system. So within our system takes sacrifices and a little bit of controlled chaos, if you know what I mean by all these great international players that when they go play for their home state, they're killing it, their home country, they're killing it. And so that's a lot of fun for watch. But for USA, I mean, come on, we're San Antonio, we're Military City, USA. We love Spurs Nation, and we want to see some Spurs players in there. So we're pulling for Derek White to actually make the cut. And so De'Aaron Fox dropped out right after the scrimmage against Spain, and that one caught me by surprise. I thought De'Aaron Fox had a lot going for him by staying in Team USA. I think that he had opportunity for him to play with Harrison Barnes a lot more and improve on their chemistry and their continuity that they can take into Sacramento. But hey, that's good for us. If De'Aaron Fox doesn't want to play in FIBA basketball, and if his and Harrison Barnes relationship, I'm not saying it's a bad one, but if it doesn't improve from where it is now, hey, that's a great thing for Spurs Nation because they're an up-and-coming team. I still think they're on the outside looking in for the next few years until, a few more of these teams drop off like Portland and who knows what's going on with LA and whatnot. It's just too tough, right? But they're almost there. They're like a young OKC, right, before they were getting into the playoffs. So De'Aaron Fox is out, which means that Derek White's spot should be cemented a little bit more, firmed up a little bit more. I mean, you have Kemba Walker, Donovan Mitchell. Those are your starting 1-2. And then in my eyes, it was De'Aaron Fox. And then it seems like we have plans for Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart hasn't been playing, but he's been around. He's not quitting. And that shows a lot of character. And I think that he said that it's not in his DNA, it's not in his makeup to just go and bail or whatever. He said he made a commitment to Team USA and he's going to stick around as long as he can and things like that. So it seems like if he's getting close to being healthy, Marcus Smart is a guy that we're going to want on our team, because I mean, if you're talking about defense, De'Aaron Fox and Marcus Smart, you got to choose Marcus Smart. Now if you're talking about offense, Marcus Smart isn't bad, but De'Aaron Fox gives you a little bit more versatility at the point guard position. But maybe we slide Derek over to that backup point guard role, and then we got Marcus Smart sliding into that behind Donovan Mitchell. And that's a good first and second string backcourt, and I'll take that all day into Team USA. Derek White didn't play all that good, but again, he didn't play all that much. He had a couple assists, he had 4 points, he had a couple key turnovers, and look. Here's how I approach these. When I see Derek White turn over the ball in these games, I'm thinking, good, learn. You can see him get mad at himself and all that stuff, but these are opportunities for growth. He had a hell of a season last year, but to see him struggle means that, because we know Derek by now. Derek White is a guy who overcomes things. He overcome being not recruited out of high school. He overcome being in a D2 school and then getting, moving on up. He overcame. He got drafted, by San Antonio and sent down to the D League to develop. He overcame that hurdle, right? So he's a guy who overcomes the obstacles that are put in front of him. And I think that him having obstacles in front of him this summer, and number one goal is to stay healthy. But if he can struggle throughout these games and improve, he's going to be getting better. And that's the whole goal for Derek White right now. We want him to see a different level of competition, to see a different style of basketball. You're seeing a lot of zones in FIBA. And what did we start seeing a lot in the NBA for the past year or two? A lot more zone defenses, right? So that's for a point guard, you got to be able to manage that adjustment. When a defense gives you a zone, you got to be able to recognize it and be like, okay, what do we do? How do we attack this? How do I control my team to attack this zone? That's my lunch bell. So I might have some kids walking in this classroom in a little bit, but I'm gonna keep going. So Derek White being in FIBA basketball is a great thing, and I wouldn't push the panic button. I wouldn't push the panic button at all if Derek White's struggling from game to game. He's gonna be okay, and at the end of the day, it's all about growth. And let's be honest, he's a backup point guard at this point. Kemba Walker is supposed to carry the load, but Derek White's supposed to be able to come in, get good minutes, give these guys a break, play a hell of put in a hell of an effort on the defensive end, and just not turn over the ball and just get smarter. And for us, selfishly, meanwhile, you turn the page. Meanwhile, in San Antonio, Spurs Nation is watching, just saying like, yes, with that evil face, like, yes, because we got Derek White, who had a breakout year, who's just going to be getting better. So we're over here hoping that he has a great summer, that he stays healthy, and that it just makes him better coming into next season. His body looks good. He looks strong. His passing ability is still by far, I think, better than anyone else on that team. I don't think anyone else can pass the ball like Derek on Team USA right now. I'm talking about creating, right? Being a playmaker, being a point guard who can actually get into the paint and get the ball to the open big man rolling to the hoop, or kick out to the open shooter. I mean, we have guys that can swing the ball, right? Everyone in Team USA basketball, you got to be able to penetrate, dish, swing the ball, make the extra pass, attack the rim. It's a lot of turning defense into offense. Get that steal, get that outlet up the floor. Very quick. Let's push the pace. But Derek White is a guy who's like, okay, we're settling in a half court. Okay, I can create something. I can penetrate here and then create off my ability, right? So having that at your backup point guard position is great for Team USA. So I'm excited for that. We got a good few games coming up ahead of us. We're gonna play Australia twice. So we're gonna see Patty Mills. I know they're on Australia already. I saw Derek White post on Instagram, hey, Patty Mills, coffee gang or what? So I mean, if you follow the Spurs on social media, they have a coffee gang thing going on. So which is a beautiful thing. I love that. We need to start a coffee gang down here in South Texas. Spurs Nation coffee gang. All right, well, these kids are probably waiting outside my door. Like, where's Mr. Trejo? Is he in here yet? No, I'm in here. But he's like, what is he doing? He's talking on the mic. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to Spurs Nation, baby. So right before we end this pod, I want to remind you guys to share, comment, like, subscribe. Guys, take the time. Take the 3 seconds to scroll. Rate this thing. Rate this baby 5 stars. Share it. Tweet it. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. I appreciate that. I do this for you guys, and I need to grow. We need to grow, baby. The growth has been happening, and I appreciate you for every single download. Anyone listening to this, thank you so much. But let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to do more things for you guys, trying to provide more content, all this good stuff. All right. I appreciate you guys for being Bucking fans of Bucking Spurs podcast. Thank you. I can't wait for this season. It's going to be a good one. Go Spurs go. No matter what ESPN says, it's going to be a good one. That's right. Spurs Nation, baby. Countdown City. Say town. Go Spurs go.